Welcome to This Week in Crowder College, an in-depth look into how Crowder College students, faculty, and staff are working together so students soar to new heights, communities are impacted, and lives are changed. This Week in Crowder College is sponsored by the law offices of Wood and Peterson in Neosho, specializing in workers' compensation, personal injury, Social Security disability, and more. Learn more online at neoshoattorney.com. Now here's this week's edition of This Week in Crowder College.
Welcome to this week's edition of This Week in Crowder College, right here on 91.7 FM. Adam Winkler here with you, joined by Annie Smith. She is a theater director out there at Crowder College. And Annie, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, exciting times out at Crowder College. You guys have a brand new production that's coming to the stage, and also the grand reopening as well. So tell us about the Diviners and also about the grand reopening and how excited you are about that.
Well, it's hard to describe fully how excited we are to be back in our theater. And after the renovations, we're able to use some new technology with state-of-the-art lighting, and they've made improvements with seating and the flooring. It's a beautiful space, and we're super excited to be able to share that with the community. So, yeah, the production of The Diviners is our grand reopening. It will be the first show that we're going to have in that space. And it is just a delightful show that will make you smile and maybe shed a few tears.
Well, without giving too much of The Diviners away, just give us a brief little plot, what it's all about.
Well, The Diviners takes place in the 1930s, so Depression era in Indiana, and it features people in a small town, and finding that small town is a wayward preacher. He's kind of lost his way and trying to find his way in the world, and in this town he meets a family that includes a girl who is deathly afraid of water.
Well, that's going to run March 7th, 8th, and 9th at Crowder College, and let's kind of break down your cast in this and just tell me about their hard work. And it's just not those who are performing on the stage. It's everyone behind the scenes just getting everything ready to go. You mentioned you got lights, you got sound, you got backstage. I mean, there's a whole lot of people that have to help pull this thing off.
Oh, absolutely. I would say the magic of theater is that it even happens because of how many people have to come together to really produce an excellent show. And everybody is putting in such hard work. We have a group of students. We have some members of the community. But we have had people coming in from our stagecraft class to help get the theater ready. For example, focusing and setting the lights so they're ready for the show. And there's a lot. Even the other day, I got to spend some time recording live dulcimer music that will be used for the show as well. So they would say that when you're producing a show, for every 1 minute of performance, you have to rehearse and prepare at least 1 hour.
Oh, wow.
So we're putting in a lot of time right now, and we're having a lot of fun. Actually, in rehearsals, often I have to tell them to stop laughing and focus on the sad parts when we're working on a sad scene.
Well, tell us about rehearsal. How often do you guys rehearse each and every single week? And just give us the ins and outs of that.
Well, right now, because of the delightful snow, and my kids love the snow days, but the snow days bumped us back in our production schedule a little bit, so it's a little tighter than usual. We are meeting about 3 or 4 times a week just for rehearsal with the actors. And then outside of that, we're working on set building, lighting, and all the other elements that go into it. Some of that is used during class time for students who are studying theater when the space is open and we have scholarship students and others who are getting their hands dirty, getting stuff ready.
We're speaking with Annie Smith. She is the theater director out there at Crowder College as we're talking about the upcoming production, The Diviners, the grand reopening of the theater. And you mentioned some of the things that were updated in the theater for you guys. And what does that mean just to you as the theater director, but also to these students that Crowder cares? They care about everybody on campus, and they wanted to give you guys the best facility that they could.
Oh, gosh, it means so much. Just even talking about the lighting alone, we advanced probably 2 decades, I would say, in technology by having these new lights put in. Maybe even further. I mean, there were some of the lights that were still being used previously that are ones that I worked on, styles of those kinds of lights back in the 90s when I was a college student. And they held up well, but with this newer technology, we have more control of the lights, including the colors, the shapes, and even some movement from the lights themselves. And this also, for the students being able to use this type of technology, it prepares them to move into other fields where this technology is being used more and more in theaters, in churches, in concerts, concerts and other types of groups like that.
Overall, how long did it take for the renovation of the theater?
Oh, that's a good question. I started in August, and it had started before then.
Oh, wow.
I believe it started at the end of the spring semester of 23.
Okay.
And, of course, all of us did face issues with shortages and delays of supplies and supply chain issues, and they did run into a few of those. So it was bumped back just a little bit, but in the end, we were happy to wait for a really good quality theater and get all of the good equipment in there.
Well, I know you guys can't wait to open the doors to the public, so tell us the dates and how people can find out ticket information.
Oh, yes, we can't wait for everybody to come. Come see us on March 7th through 9th, at 7th, 8th, and 9th, so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Each night, the show is at 7 p.m. Tickets can be purchased at the door, or they can be purchased by calling the theater program at 417-455-5458.
Well, it's a great way to support Crowder College, a great way to support the theater department, and also just a fun night out. You could just enjoy it with some friends and go see the Diviners at Crowder College March 7th, 8th, and 9th. And Annie, thank you so much for being with us on This Week in Crowder College.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to seeing everyone at the show.
Thank you for listening to This Week in Crowder College. This Week in Crowder College is sponsored by the law offices of Wood and Peterson in Neosho. You can listen to this broadcast again by going online to kneo.org or to crowder.edu. Tune in once again next week for another edition of This Week in Crowder College on KNEO 91.7 FM.